Happy Friday, fight fans, and welcome back to Inside Defense. I'm the double champ casual. That's Drew the Rooster Johnson, and we're getting ready for another chapter in the long-awaited series that is the BMF belt. Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway 2 for the BMF title this weekend in Las Vegas. And remember, folks, like and subscribe or you're going to federal fucking prison.
Federal fucking prison.
This is the show where we have a better broadcast production value than the card announcement that Dana White's been putting on, where he grabs his iPhone in his ultra-white marble house. This is an excellent matchup. Diego Lopez versus Andrew Volkanovski 3 at the White House. It's going to happen.
It is not going to happen.
We do not care. But let's get right into it with, of course, the main card. Actually, not, of course, the main card. Always this segment. Drew, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm just ready to talk some fights here. I'm ready. I'm ready for our one of our favorite fighters to hold that belt above his head, and we're gonna get to that later.
That could legitimately go either way. That's how intense this is. As always, before we get into the main card, Drew, is there any preliminary fights that you want to discuss before we go forward?
I mean, Cody Garbrandt's gonna lose again, and we're not gonna want to see it. Cody Garbrandt's one of the fighters that got me into UFC, and it seems like I've only ever seen him win twice, and that sucks because of how much I like Cody Garbrandt. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to touch on.
Let's get into the main card then, starting off with the middleweight bout between the number 15, Bruno Ferreira, and the number 13, Gregory Rodriguez. Right now, odds are not out yet on the UFC website, so give me a couple seconds. I'll look for those. But Drew's going to pull them up, I think, here. Right now,
John,
Bruno Ferreira,
I'm already one step ahead of you, okay? I'm always three steps ahead of you.
While he's looking that up, Bruno Ferreira right now 15-2 in his career. Rodriguez 18-6. Both these guys coming off of wins. A massive height difference between these two. Rodriguez 6'3", Bruno 5'10". Drew, where do you think this fight goes? Or you got those odds pulled up yet?
I think it's good. I know what the odds say, and I'm agreeing with the odds in this one. I think we're going to see Bruno's lifeless body hit the canvas. RoboCop is really good at absolutely flooring great strikers as long as it's not a 5-round fight. And this fight being only 3 rounds, I think that's going to say something. I think Gregory Rodriguez is going to absolutely floor him. I know Bruno's a very good striker. He's up and on the rise. But I think RoboCop's got that experience. We saw what he did to Jack Hermanson at 317. We saw what he did to Jared Cannonier before Cannonier had that comeback. It's really hard to bet against a guy that keeps knocking guys out that are as good as his competition. So for that reason, give me RoboCop to win by knockout, probably the first or second round, and that's the fight. I'm sorry, Bruno. I like watching you, but I think it's too much too soon.
Don't really need to go into it anymore. I agree with Drew. I'm taking Rodriguez as well. The 15 spot in any ranking is really tough because there's just so many talented guys behind you, and you're in a really high pressure situation. If you're 15 and you lose, you're out of the rankings. There's really nothing else you can do about it. And I just don't know if this high pressure situation is something for Ferreira right now. So I'm taking Rodriguez.
Yeah, we're moving up to a minus 200 favorite right now on DraftKings. Please sponsor us. But he's at minus 200. Somebody's sitting right about plus 160. Hey, I offered to sponsor the podcast, but you said you can't sponsor it because it's your own show.
Yeah. Exactly. What are you talking about? Let's move up to the lightweight bout. We're trying to go through these first 4 because we obviously want to talk about the main event for a while. Going up to a lightweight bout between Michael Johnson and Drew Dober. We come off of a Brazil versus Brazil fight, and then we get a United States versus United States fight. Drew, who are you taking here?
I'm going to go with Drew Dober just because every time I pick against him, he seems to win. I picked against him in the Kyle Prepelic fight. I thought Prepelic was just going to take his head off and beat him up, which he did for the first 2.5 rounds till Drew Dober decided he was done losing. It's really hard to bet against a guy that can take this amount of damage to keep on fighting, and I don't see Michael Johnson pouring it on long enough to get a 15-minute decision win over Drew Dober. So for that reason, give me Drew Dober with the fight going the distance.
I completely agree with you. I do not see Michael Johnson laying it on for 15 minutes and walking it out with a win. I see Michael Johnson laying it on for 2 minutes and 31 seconds and walking out with a win. Give me Michael Johnson. I said this before the show. I said I wasn't going to say it on the show. I am going to say it on the show. Right now, old black dudes in the UFC, stock up. on stock up on unks. These guys are killing everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with you. I've seen the way the past couple events have shaken up. You got who was the one guy that just won a few weeks ago?
Bobby Green, baby.
Oh yeah, Bobby Green.
Yeah. Vintage King Green. Back at it again. Yeah, Michael Venom Page, moving like Anderson Silva in his prime.
That is actually a pretty good comparison, except Anderson Silva hits a lot harder than he does.
They got those big old foreheads. I'm taking Michael Johnson. Let's move up. Let's move up to the... By the way, do you have anyone in your family named Michael Johnson, Drew?
I don't think so.
No? Mm-mm. Bantamweight bout. Third to last fight of the night is the unranked Raul Rosas Jr. Say it with me, Drew. And the number 13, Rob Font. I'll start with this one. I don't really want to take him. I find him incredibly annoying. I also think he is a product of circumstance. He's fought some good fighters. I will give him that. And he's got some pretty good finishes and some pretty good appearances so far in the company, as they say. I'm going to take Raul for this one. I think he's doing everything that the UFC wants him to do. You get guys like this every once in a while. You call them industry plants, Drew, but
I don't think he's doing everything. Industry plant. I think he's in a great position to where he could have a really long, illustrious career because he's just that good and this early. It's hard to say he's an industry plant when you're this good this early. I mean, Bo Nickel's an industry plant. He was not really an MMA fighter. He was a great, outstanding collegiate wrestler that kind of learned how to throw a few punches and seems to keep getting very easy fights.
Hey, Bo Nickel stock up too right now. Okay, don't get it twisted.
I'm not a Penn State fan, John. Please never say that again.
I'm not a Penn State fan either, but we can still say stock up on Bo Nickel. Back to this fight. Regardless, Raul's doing a lot of good things right now. I take Raul in this, and Rob, I think is just kind of I think he's towards the end of his run.
I think so too, but nobody expected Rob Font to pour it on Kyler Phillips like he did as an almost plus 500 dog, so it's hard to count out Rob Font.
But that was 2 years ago, though.
I know, but I'm saying it's hard to count out Rob Font against these young guys that don't have any experience. But I think Raul Rosas is too young and too quick. I don't think he's going to fall for the Font.
You know what it is?
Gonna set.
You use this term a lot. This term gets put around. Rob Font is kind of like the gatekeeper right now for bantamweight, especially with all these young guys. Some guys get past him, some don't. Obviously, that's just how it works. But I see Raul going past him.
I agree with you, too. I think the odds have it right. I think Raul should be about a minus 225 favorite, and that's exactly what DraftKings has him as. So for that reason, give me Raul Rosas.
How do you see this fight ending, though?
Raul Rosas is either going to sub him or get a decision win. It's not going to be an absolutely dominant performance, but it's going to be a good showing. I think Raul's going to sub him early, or it's going to go the full 15, and it's going to be a decisive but not, ass-beating win.
Let's move up again to another middleweight bout. The number 8 Renier de Ritter versus the number 7 Kai Barallo. This is an interesting fight. For a while, we did not know, Drew, what the co-main event of this card was going to be. There was a lot of rumors on what it was supposed to be, but with the BMF title, you knew it wasn't going to be an actual championship fight. So it's like, all right, what 2 guys can we get on this? You know what I mean? And this is what we resulted in. Did you want to speak on about that first before we get into this actual fight?
No, I think that it's a great fight on paper, but I think me and you see this fight going 2 completely different ways, and I think I want to get into that real quick. Kyle Barallo should not be a minus 300 favorite over RDR. Should he be the favorite? Absolutely. I think he lost to the greatest middleweight in the world that is not named Khamzat Chimaev. I think Nasruddin Imavov is that next breed of dominant middleweight as soon as Khamzat's done. Because we know Khamzat's not going to last at 185. He's going to be moving up. Those weight cuts are tolling. How Khamzat ever made 170, we will never know. But with someone as inactive as Khamzat, I have a feeling he's either going to be forced to strip or go up. And I think Nasruddin Imavov is going to be able to hold that belt. And Kaio put on a fairly competitive fight against Nasruddin, and being, I think, like I said, Nasruddin Imavov is the greatest middleweight in the world, not named Khamzat Chimaev. I think that says something about how good Kaio really is. And I think that after the absolute mauling that RDR took against Brandon Allen, who's, I don't even believe was that highly ranked at the time, it's going to be very hard to bet against a guy like Kaio Borralho. So for that reason, give me Kaio to win via a late finish or a decision win, leaning more on decision. But the only thing I really want to see is how is he going to handle RDR's pressure and grappling. We saw how Brandon Allen handled it, and I don't think Kaio's going to be able to handle it the exact same way. But I think it should be a great fight, and I have Kaio edging on a decision win.
Yeah, you said at the start of your analysis there that you and I are going to diverge on this greatly, and that is the truth. I am going to take RDR in this. I still think back to that Robert Whittaker fight for RDR a lot. I think that was one of his best performances he's maybe had in his career. Robert Whittaker doesn't get a lot of respect, in my opinion. I think once Chimaev broke his jaw, I think people kind of just like pushed him aside. Whittaker's a great fighter. And the fight against RDR, it was a split decision for full 5 rounds, but still a great fight. And so I think what RDR has to do here, and I think what RDR will do here, is he's going to take everything he's learned from his last couple 5-round fights and just compress it into his 3 rounds. We talk about this all the time on this show, Drew, how different a 3-round fight is from a 5-round fight. You don't have time to kind of like, look at your opponent. You just have to throw things at them a little bit quicker. And I think if these two guys, what they're going to throw at each other, I think RDR has a little bit of better options because of that.
I understand what you're saying 100%, but I just want to touch on the fact that I think that Kaio's camp is going to prepare for RDR very well, and that I don't think RDR beat Robert Whittaker, and I bet on RDR to beat Robert Whittaker, and I still don't think that he won that fight at the end. And I had it going 48-47 Whittaker. I don't think RDR really did enough to get a decisive win. I knew it was going to be split, but I didn't think it would go to RDR, and I think that just based on their strength of schedule, their last performances, I can't take RDR based on what I saw versus Brendan Allen and what I saw in Kaio versus Nasruddin. It's just something that I just myself cannot get past. Was how RDR did not even win a single round. I had a feeling there were going to be multiple 10-8 rounds on that card had that Brendan Allen fight gone the distance. And let's not forget that he quit on the stool at the end of round 4, and that's not a good look. And by no means am I hating on him, but that's just not a good look for us picking this fight, and it's making it very, very hard to pick RDR over somebody as good as Kaio.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, and I think this is an important fight. Obviously 7-8, right? So you look at just title shots and who's available when the guys up close, especially with middleweight kind of being up in the air right now with what is going on with Chimaev. And so I think you look at what is on the line here, it's going to lead for an intense fight. I agree with you completely. I'm not going to be surprised if Borralho walks away with it. I'm just going to take RDR.
I think this could be a much closer fight than the odds have it. I think it's going to be a lot closer than Kaio being a minus favorite.
Which is pretty much where my decision comes from. It's like you look at these guys in close fights. I would rather have RDR, right? You just talked about Robert Whittaker. He didn't lose. He lost some rounds. You didn't think he won. That's fine. You go back and forth. He knocks out your favorite Bo Nickel, and things like that. You look at Borralho. I can't. At least to my recollection, I could be completely wrong. I don't see a lot of close fights with him. Like the Imanov fight. The Imanov fight was yeah. The Imanov fight was just unanimous, right? And Cannonier, another unanimous decision. So you look at that. Those aren't close fights, though. I mean, he got just beat by Imanov and he killed Cannonier, right? But you look at RDR, closer fights, longer history of closer fights, he just wins them. So that's where I come from. I think this fight will be close, so I take RDR.
I think that's a great pick, and this is my candidate for fight of the night if the first one doesn't deliver like we think it will. I really think that this fight could be the fight of the night. But you know what I'm saying. If there's an early stoppage, you can't give fight of the night to an early stoppage main event. So just saying.
And let's talk about that main event. The lightweight.
Before we get to the main event, I want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Tyler for picking up this hoodie from one of the best gyms in Ohio at Strong Style MMA, where Stipe fought.
So this is the hoodie.
Yes,
this is the hoodie.
This is the hoodie.
Yeah, explain this hoodie real quick. You actually told me a lot about this.
Yeah, so Strong Style MMA is a gym in Ohio. It's where Stipe Miocic trained for his entire career while being a firefighter. And the only place you can get these hoodies are at his gym. They're not available online or anywhere else. So I want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Tyler. And USPS delivered it just in time today for the podcast. So thanks to them.
Shout out Drew's buddy Tyler. We love people on this show who give gifts. Shout out Whitey from Bridges Scoreboard for always hooking up with posters. I still owe Drew 2 posters. I have Drew's 2.5 months. I have Drew's Paddy Pimblett versus Gaethje and Volk versus Lopez posters still. I have not given them. Tomorrow, I promise they'll be in his possession.
Absolutely.
But let's move on to what we really want to talk about. The lightweight bouts. The most entertaining, the most competitive, the most batshit crazy division in all of the UFC in either gender. Men's lightweight. The number 3 ranked Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Max. What's his nickname? Blessed Holloway, the champion for the BMF belt. The baddest motherfucker. Here we are. Now, this is Charles Oliveira, versus Max Holloway 2. Drew, please give a history lesson for those who are uneducated or uninformed. What happened the last time these two gentlemen fought each other?
Max floored him. Oliveira said, "I'm hurt." They stopped the fight. The doctor examined Oliveira, and they couldn't find anything that was wrong with him. A lot of people thought Oliveira quit. I don't think so. I think something happened. It was a fluke that the doctors never caught. Anyways, I digress. I want to just say something about this fight. There will never be another Max Holloway or an Oliveira in the UFC ever. Max Holloway has the most significant strikes thrown, landed, and most significant strikes absorbed. If he fights for more than 16 minutes, he will now have the longest cage time in the history of the UFC. Then we have Oliveira, who has the most amount of submissions in the UFC by far, the most total finish in the UFC far, and I believe the most amount of performance bonus in the UFC. I think all those records combined will never be broken by anybody that steps into the UFC. So I just want to put that out there, how absolutely batshit crazy both these guys. I know that we're riding on the Blessed Express train. We saw him beat Gaethje with 1 second left when he pointed out the cage. They just released Mark Goddard's audio from it, which he says in 20 years of reffing, he's never screamed like that before. We've seen him dismantle Poirier at his retirement fight. And I'm taking Oliveira, okay? We're going with our man, DeBronx Oliveira, to hold that BMF belt. I don't give a fuck what anybody says about how good Max Holloway is. The last time that Oliveira was knocked out before he fought Ilya was in 2017, almost 9 years ago. So, I'm not sure if Max Holloway can knock out Oliveira, and I have a feeling Oliveira is going to pour it on and mix in the grappling, which we've seen Max not do too well with grappling. So, for that reason, give me DuBronx Oliveira to hold that belt at the end of the night.
See, Drew, this is, you and I are like many UFC fans, and like all UFC fans. I said this on the show before, and I've been caught with my foot in my mouth. I'd be like, oh, this guy's loved by everybody, and then you immediately step in and go, I don't like him. There are only a handful of guys that are beloved by everyone in the sport.
And you're looking at 2 of them. And
you're looking at 2 of them. Honestly, the only
draw, because I don't want to see either one of them lose.
The only 3 guys I can name off the top of my head are these 2 and Volk. That's pretty much it. I can't really name anyone else. Yeah, I mean, there were some people who did not like Poirier. I could say that.
Yeah, assholes.
Me.
Fuck you.
I'm kidding.
We're gonna clip that on Instagram. John's a Poirier hater.
We're gonna hang him in the streets of New Orleans. Anyway, going back to what I'm saying. You're not gonna find anyone who loves these, right? Dustin said it himself. Listen, man, if you don't like... No, was it Chandler Dustin? Listen, man, if you don't like Charles Oliveira, you don't like fighting.
I believe it was one of them.
They're the same person in my mind, right?
I'm going to pretend you didn't say that.
This is tough because, I don't want to pick against either of these two. People get mistaken all the time. And I have to disclaim it again, just because we're picking someone does not mean we dislike the other person. Now, granted, there are times that happens on this show. There are times we pick fighters because we dislike and absolutely hate the other person.
That's why I picked Pierre against Bo Nickel, because I don't like Bo Nickel.
That's not one of these.
Sorry,
that is not one of these.
Nothing against you. I just don't like how Dana treats you.
That is not one of these situations. Both of these guys are loved by the fan base.
I went back and forth on this for about 2 weeks straight. I probably thought about this fight for 3 hours today.
I've been thinking about this fight ever since they did that press conference for Paramount Plus where they announced the last 3 cards. This is, by the way, the accumulation of that press conference, by the way. This is the last fight that was announced, right? So now we're going into the future. We're really going into the unknown now. I got to take Max Holloway on this one. I got to take the champ.
You can't just side with me one time.
No, I can't. We got to make it interesting, right? We got to have difference of opinions. We can make multiple graphics, right? I'm taking Max. Drew, we talked about this earlier in the week. If you look at the losses on these guys' records, it's so easy to say Max Holloway's got 8 losses. Charles Oliveira's got 11 losses. Max Holloway's losses are to Ilya Topuria, Volkanovski
3 times,
Dustin Poirier
twice.
It's Conor McGregor. It's
I think he lost once.
Hall of Famer. You look at Charles Oliveira's fight history. Loses to Ilya Topuria, Arman Sarukian, Islam Makhachev, Max Holloway, which that's weird. And then you go down further when he lost to Cowboy Cerrone. That's embarrassing, actually. That's kind of embarrassing.
That was before Cowboy was washed.
To be fair to Charles.
People don't understand Cowboy's last good win before he became officially washed.
A quick sidebar, people don't understand, Charles Oliveira kind of has 2 careers.
Before his daughter was born?
Having a daughter, Charles Oliveira is kind of a bum. Post having a daughter, Charles Oliveira...
Capture the lightweight belt.
Yeah, post daughter, Charles Oliveira is maybe a top 10 fighter of all time.
Yeah, it's like that meme, it's when there won't be a second date, but at least she knows why Charles Oliveira is the greatest lightweight of all time.
That's great. Point being, you look at these guys' losses, and Drew, this is what I talked to you about. I think what you have to do in this fight is you have to look at how these two guys faced off against.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, close your eyes and flip a coin.
That's the only way to pick on this fight.
But you have to go back and you have to look at how these two guys matched up against Ilya Topuria. And I think Max did a much better job.
Now, granted, changed my mind.
Now, granted, it's interesting because this Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira is kind of going to just be a repeat in styles of Topuria versus Oliveira, right? Holloway very much.
I'm going to forget you said that, so continue.
Can you let me speak first?
No, because I don't want you to talk about Oliveira getting flatlined again. I witnessed that live and
I didn't say it was. I said it was a repeat in styles.
Yeah, and that we all know how that fight ended up. And it was Oliveira unconscious on the canvas.
You can't say don't say that when you know I'm correct. You're stopping me from making a good point.
I just don't want to hear it.
You're stopping me from clip farming on Instagram and YouTube Shorts.
We haven't made a clip in the 2026, so I don't want to hear about clip farming.
We're clip farming. Anyway, Holloway, very much a stand-up striker. Drew named most significant strikes landed, most significant strike attempts in UFC history. Record's probably not going to get
absorbed.
The only person who I think right now in the roster who can maybe break that is maybe Josh Van. That's it.
I think you're right. But this person,
that's the only person I can see breaking
Hill, who's had I think the most amount of UFC fights by a woman, and she's not even close. So yeah. It's plus the cage time.
Point being, it's unbroken. So I think just the way the fight is with a striker versus someone who's expert grappling, expert Brazilian jiu-jitsu, expert everything. I think you just have to give it to Max because already Oliveira has fought this type of fighter and it did not go his way. Now, granted, we've all seen the clip where Oliveira gets knocked out and it cuts to his coaches and his coaches are pissed. He was supposed to keep his distance, right? I can absolutely see Oliveira learning from the Topuria fight and taking that into this and it going a completely different direction. I see that happening too. However, I just think that Max is just going to keep closing that distance because he knows that if he gets on the ground, it's probably not going to go very well, right? It's just the way it is.
I think if
Holloway
Oliveira
lost to
Max
Volk
on the
what
ground,
3 times? Holloway lost to Volk what 3 times? Right?
All 3
you can
decisions,
kind of you can kind of compare Oliveira and Volk. Adjust a little bit, 2 different weight classes, but Volk, very well-rounded fighter, great on the ground, really good striking. Oliveira is no different. So
people
always
forget
struggle with
Oliveira
that.
is a knockout artist as well. He's more known for submissions, but he's got power in his hands, and I think that Max Holloway is going to have to take the fight to Oliveira different than he took the fight to Ilya, because Ilya wasn't going to shoot on him. Ilya wasn't going to try to, throw in feints and try to rush Max and get him on the ground. And I mean, Ilya, I believe, did take Max down in that fight, and Ilya's not really known as a takedown guy. So putting Oliveira, who's such a good ground guy, in a fight with Max, I could see Max hitting the canvas. And if Max hits the canvas, I hate to say it, but I think Oliveira's going to sub him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Max. That's my firm decision, right? I don't really have like a great justification for it because, like you said, it's a coin toss.
You can make a case either way.
It's 50-50. So I guess what I'm trying to do at this point is I'm just trying to highlight how great both of these fighters are and just how insane this is going to be. You're going to find out. By the way, Drew, we're going to have a final round question today.
Oh, wow.
I guess we can kind of transition to it now. Do you want to? I can.
After this fight, we'll wrap it up, but yeah.
But I think the way this fight's going to go, I think it's going to leave a lot of people satisfied. I wish this fight was a little bit earlier in the Paramount Plus era because I think this fight would have been really good to bring in a lot of fans, right? If you had this, respectfully, if you had this instead of Patty and Justin, I think you would have had a lot more satisfied customers. This is going to be one heck of a fight. It's unfortunate that I don't think the rest of the card is up to par with this main event. However, that's not me saying that the rest of the card and the rest of the fights are bad. That's just saying how high up on the list that this main event is.
Absolutely. I feel like we say it every time. This is a generational fight that people that didn't watch the UFC before tonight are going to get in the UFC. Patty and Gaethje delivered. Volk and Lopez too kind of delivered.
I don't know. I would say this fight will deliver, but I definitely think that this fight is just for UFC fans. I don't think casuals have a draw into this. I think this is very much for people who have been around the UFC for 10 plus years like you and I have.
And you have to cater to the casuals and the diehards. So
yeah. So let's move on to a very short final round question. I said I got rid of this, but I want to bring it back really quickly. And it's not really a final round question. Drew, the state of the UFC fandom with casuals. How do you think the environment is? Should the UFC be catering to what these casuals want and how their opinions are so loud online? Just kind of, you and I had this conversation the other day, and that's why I want to bring it back to this main question. But your thoughts on just casuals in the UFC kind of dictating things?
So my thing is that there are more casuals than diehard fans. And I feel like it's 99% of people that follow UFC are casuals, 1% are diehards like you and me. The problem with that is that you can't just say fuck the casuals because they're paying a lot more money to watch the UFC than the diehard fans are, which sucks, but that's how every sport is. I mean, it's like a Super Bowl every week. You know, there's only a very small handful of people that actually really care about the game and that aren't there for the commercials. So I'm saying that I think that the casuals that don't like the grappling, that don't like the wrestling, have been influenced so bad by piss poor lay and pray performances. We're not going to name names. Umar Nurmagomedov.
Hamzat Chimaev.
He had the most significant strikes landed in a title fight. I don't want to hear that fight was boring because he beat the shit out of Drakus. He tried to end that fight via ass beating and it almost worked. I was there, John, I remember. But anyways, I digress. I feel like the casuals are somewhat ruining the sport for the diehard fans, but they're putting money in Uncle Dana's pocket so he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to transition to this is because I think, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to watch this fight. There is going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser.
Hopefully there's a draw.
There's not going to be a draw. There's not going to be a draw. All right.
We can hope. I'm speaking it into existence.
Neither of these fighters are bad enough to have an 10-8 round. It's not going to a 10-7 round.
Oliveira could put Max on his ass and lay on him for 10 minutes or for 5 minutes.
Point being, there's a lot of people who are going to watch this fight. There's going to be a winner or the loser, and then they're going to look at the loser and they're going to completely throw away his entire career, all of his accomplishments, everything he's ever done. I mean, both these guys are former champs, right? Both these guys are going to the Hall of Fame. I think
Max is the second greatest featherweight champ.
And so that's the point. That's the point I wanted to bring up about casuals. Is just like they do not know how to watch fights like you're supposed to. And I do sincerely mean that. There is a right way to watch fights and there's a wrong way to watch fights. If you just want to watch the finish or the knockout, but you don't want to watch how a fighter got into that position, right? Was he faking leg kicks?
We don't want
Was he faking leg kicks, right? Did he shoot? How was his defense? How was his cage control? What did he do on the fence? What did he do on the mat? You know, what time did it happen? Did he do this right away in 13 seconds, or did he take the full 5 rounds to finally get into this position and work his game plan? That's the part of fighting that actual fight fans like you and me want to watch, and that's just kind of the message I wanted to end this episode on. Is if you are a casual fan, that is completely okay, but please recognize that there are things inherently about the sport that you are just flat out missing. And what I'm saying is, this is an invitation to learn more about that, because I promise you will get more enjoyment out of the sport.
Absolutely. If you guys, I'm not trying to out any casuals here, but if you guys would actually watch what goes on the ground that isn't a land prey, you would be absolutely shocked at how intricate the grappling and the jiu-jitsu aspect of this sport is. It is absolutely beautiful to watch a grappling masterclass go on, because every move sets up 5 other moves, and you can really only defend against one. So it is absolutely beautiful to watch on the ground when it's just two, like a grappler versus a wrestler. And grappling and wrestling are two completely different things. And once you guys start to understand that, you'll really see the beauty of MMA. Yeah.
I thought grappling was just a thing you did in wrestling, right? And then I learned more about it, and there's two they're similar. I'll grant you they're similar. And like if to an untrained eye, that you would think it's the same thing, but it's not, right?
Yeah, wrestling is more pinning down and holding down, and grappling's more you're sliding on the ground. You're switching you're going from full mount to half mount, and you're trying to do the spins and trying to lock in an arm bar, knee bar, darce, etc. Mm-hmm. Wrestling's more of just holding down and trying to choke out your opponent, which they're two completely different things, which I didn't know for the longest time watching UFC. I thought everything on the ground was wrestling.
For example, striking and boxing. Two separate things.
Completely different things.
Two separate things. So, just wanted to leave. I know it sounds like we're leaving on a bad note, but it's a high note, really, because there's so many new fans into this sport.
You guys can learn and appreciate the sport much more than you ever did before, and that's never a bad thing.
Yeah, there's so many new fans, and we don't want to seem like an unwelcoming community, but we want to. It's the exact opposite. We want to welcome you into this, but we were trying to show you the right way to do it, because if you're like. There was a time where I was a casual. There was a time where Drew was a casual. If you watch fighting just for the knockouts, just for the rear naked chokes, you're going to be incredibly bored. You're not going to enjoy it, right?
If you want to watch people get knocked out, go watch boxing or kickboxing.
Go watch bare knuckle boxing or go watch power slap. Like that's literally what you want, right? But we're trying to get to a point, and this is kind of the reason for the show. Me and Drew have discussed. We're trying to help people better enjoy the sport, and that's ultimately our goal at the end of the day. So
I want to say one more thing is that
go ahead.
MMA is the ultimate combat sport. I'm not trying to come after boxing or kickboxing. MMA is the ultimate combat sport. It is mano-a-mano, one-on-one. It's mixed martial arts. Boxing, striking, wrestling, grappling. The MMA originally started as trying to figure out what martial art would work the absolute best in a fight. And once you learn to truly appreciate all the different aspects of MMA, you will find this is the most pure sport or most pure combat sport on the planet. Nothing comes close to this in any way, shape, or form. So that's the note I want to leave on, is that we're not trying to out you or push you away. We want to bring in and show you that there's a lot more to this sport than just booing when guys are on the ground.
Put it there beautifully, Drew. UFC 326, the fight for the BMF belt is this Saturday live from Las Vegas, starting at 4 Central Time. Do the time conversions yourself. I'm not doing it for you. From John, the Double Champ Casual, to Drew, the Rooster Johnson, thank you very much for watching, even though we know where you're watching. And you're going to federal fucking prison.
Federal fucking prison.